devices like that, Mike, making them. People would see us at a distance, and what they saw was not what we were seeing from inside that wheat field. They saw other things going on there, and I've heard this over and over again. So it does set, honestly, it really seems to set up some sort of strange energy field. I mean, some of the circle makers described to me not only seeing these types of orbs, like you just mentioned, like that, seeing them come over the field, but small black triangles surveying the area and shadow people and even time slips. And I know people who've experienced time slips uh, in around the crop circles where it seemed like an hour went by for them, but for the people back in the circle, it was only 5 minutes, and they saw strange things around there. So I think that crop circles are real, even if they are on the man-made versions. Something about a spiral pattern in wheat changes the energy flow of that space and creates non-ordinary electromagnetic effects. Because I have seen my share of batteries and cameras stop working, even in our own circles that we've made. And I put these videos on my website, cropcirclescience.com. I have a YouTube playlist of many people's video cameras and cameras. You can hear them talking about how their camera, just brand new camera, new batteries, just stopped working. So there is a really strange effect around those circles. I think it's an important discovery, actually. It's not, it's like non-ordinary Maxwellian electromagnetic fields. It's something else.
Could
And
could
it's important.
could any of them be, with especially the ones that are made by these orbs?
Yeah.
Could the Earth itself be trying to give us a message, communicate to us? You think, or is that
Yeah, I
just
think
too
that's,
far out?
yes. I think it's a possibility. Yep.
Oh, well, that would.
Because those orbs sometimes come out of the earth. And I've seen that myself with my own eyes over there with other people. We've seen these orbs coming right out of the ground. And in some configurations, those orbs, which are a variety of ball lightning, I mean, they have a lot of energy. It's something like 10 times the power of a hand grenade in something the size of a grapefruit.
Yeah.
It's a huge amount of energy. You have no problem flattening wheat, and it radiates out in a circle. So I'm sure some of those circles in the past have been related to ball lightning and orbs. Yep.
So now I wonder, has anybody tried to decipher any of these messages, or is it that, well, we don't know which ones might be real or not? So,
Yeah. Mike, the thing is, there was a very interesting article in Science magazine that I remember reading a couple decades ago. What it said is anytime you're working with a finite space and you're trying to arrange geometry within that space or art and create patterns, you're going to come up against the limitations of a two-dimensional surface, and you may discover new mathematical theorems and so forth just by pushing the limits of how much you can fit into a finite space and how shapes work. And so it does seem that just working with uh, a field, you could come up with new mathematical ideas. There was a, a fellow, I think he was from Princeton, a mathematician, who said he had discovered a new mathematical theorem in crop circles. And so it just shows that regardless of the intention, I mean, maybe you're right, Mike. Maybe there is some sort of communications going on here at another level. I mean, you can't rule that out. But
I,
even if,
yeah, it's a thought, anyways.
yeah, it's a thought, yeah. Even if people make them, though, uh, there is no reason why someone really looking at these patterns, a lot of them are like fractal geometry, self-similar repeating patterns like a Mandelbrot set. You wouldn't discover something new because I'll tell you, some of those patterns were so different looking. I remember spending hours sitting on the hills around them, looking at them, trying to figure out the mathematical pattern underneath the shape, and it really stretches your brain in some very interesting ways. So I think crop circles have always been a source of creativity for a lot of people because they're often huge and they just inspire you to think big.
Yeah,
Inspire you.
they're very big and obviously designed to see from the sky.
Right.
And yeah, and these And I guess I would, as a not knowing any better, I would say that the real ones would have that radiation pattern you talk about, right?
A lot of them seem to have that
Oh,
radiation pattern. A lot of them do, and I mean, talking about being in the sky. I mean, we used to fly those patterns with microlight uh, planes. Those kind of uh, planes with fabric wings or very lightweight, so they wouldn't be classified quite as aircraft, but as
yeah.
ultralights or microlights, kind of like a lawnmower with some cloth wings attached. And we've flown them, which I mean, with those microlights, you can fly very close to them. I think the legal limit in the UK, you can go as low as 500 feet over the field.
Yeah.
And even up there at 500 feet, the cameras have gone berserk over the circle.
See, now that
Which
happens with, I've heard reports of that happening with not only crop circles, but with UFO activity and with ghost activity. So, what do they all
exactly
got in common?
what they all have in common is they are dealing with shapes that change the basic structure of space-time. There are these constants that we're used to having them be constants called permittivity and permeability, which is the electric constant of free space, and permeability being the magnetic constant. And those two constants determine the speed of electromagnetic propagation, the speed of light, in other words. So if you change permittivity or permeability of materials in that space, you're going to be changing some of the very fundamentals that give physical reality its sort of constant appearance, its sort of steady appearance to our eyes and our ears and so forth. Einstein even argued in 1909 or 1907 and 1911 that the speed of light was variable, even though he didn't get a lot of acceptance and he didn't push in that direction. That's what his ideas led him to believe. So if you have things like oscillating permittivity, you're going to have a variable speed of light. It's the light speed of light's going to be oscillating, and that, Mike, is going to cause things to look blurry. And how many times have we heard that photos of ghosts look blurry? Photos of people will say, "How come there's no clear pictures of UFOs?" Because if you have oscillating permittivity, it's going to look blurry. And the same applies to crop circles. I've had circles where I attempted to photograph them and it always came out blurry.
Yeah.
So that is a really good question, Mike, that you're asking is these phenomena that we kind of put in the class of paranormal, there's a lot of similarities or features underlying some of them that make me think, and this includes Bigfoot too, by the way, which
I
is
was
my
going to
most
bring him
recent.
up.
Yeah. I mean, how many times do you hear from witnesses saying the photos came out blurry, but they saw it with their eyes, or the object looked blurry, not through a camera, just through their eyes? The object literally looked blurry. By the way, this also applies to cold fusion Leonard reactors. So, the Fleischmann and Pond stuff from '89 onwards. So it seems to me that to answer your question, I mean, it's a really good question. It's something I think about every day. We're dealing with a class of phenomena that are made or are creating other states of matter. To sum it up in two words, coherent matter.
Yeah.
We're dealing with coherent matter, and I believe that